All right, thank you for coming back. Good to see y'all again. Okay, I asked you to take this piece of wood, do your drawing on it, then I asked you to relieve your straps. So we went all the way around and we've relieved the straps, at least down to a certain depth. You can see right here that we have a thinner, you see it's thinner here than thick and thicker up here. Not a problem because we're going to work on that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on is getting to the edges and making sure that matches. What I mean by that is right here, here's my front, I marked it front. The edges are right here. So these straps go all the way around, so we got to make sure that the book is underneath that. So I'll do that on all the corners and I'll do that all the way around. We're just going to take a fishtail gouge, and we've done that already. I'll clean up a little bit there and there. And all I'm going to do, sorry, not a fishtail gouge, I'm going to take a knife. This is the front, so this is the spine. Here are the front covers, front and back covers. So I keep saying I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this with my small V. So I've got a small V. This is a number 47 from Dubai. And all I'm going to do is outline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to outline. Well, I'm not even close, am I? Turn back just a little bit more. There we go. That looks better to be in the middle. I love it. All right, we're gonna start at the top, and I've cut in these already, so that delineates where the covers are. I'm gonna do that on the front because here's a cover, and I'm going with the grain, so this will carve really easily. Do that other cover, and I'm gonna do this third cover here. I didn't draw it in there, but it sits there. Cover, cover, and cover. Okay. Then what we're going to do before we bring down the covers, we're going to go in here and we're going to make some slices. So I'm going to go into where the grooves are for the leaves, the pages, and I'm going to make a fairly deep cut in there because I want to show an obvious separation between the cover and the leaves of the pages. Okay, so to make that on there, don't do it here. You want to do it here. And then follow this one, and then do the same thing with the other side. Right in that groove, I want to make slice cuts with my knife. Okay, I'm going to now go across the one that I already made it where the strap is, and I want to cut those down in where the pages are. Okay, let's do that up here as well on the bottom of the book and on the top. I'm just going to carve a slice right in there. Getting to the outside, got to watch that. Make that cut, make another one in here, going right across those pages, and then right back here at the back of the spine. Flip it over 180 degrees and do the exact same thing on this side as well. So we're going to go right in that groove and make those cuts. Don't snap off the edge of the wood like I just did. I wasn't watching. I happened to look up and was still pushing down. Anyway, get to the edge and curl it down. Go across that edge there, go right across that. Now we've made all these cuts we need for the leaves, and so I keep calling them leaves and pages. So I'm going to grab a smaller fishtail gouge, and I'm going to have to be careful because when you carve up here, you have a tendency to carve out there. So you can do that way. You can do it with your fishtail gouge. You just got to creep up on it. This is end grain, so it's a pain in the you-know-what. So sometimes an easier way is you've already made that cut right in that groove. Easier way for some people is to come in here, lay that knife down just about perpendicular, and come in here and cut that out. You can do this with a knife. You can do it with a V-tool. You can do it with a fishtail gouge. It just depends on how you want to get that sliver of wood out of there the best way without clipping your covers. Okay, so we've gone all the way down to here. We're going to cut that little sliver off. If you look close, we now have plenty of room. Get that little marker out of there. We now have plenty of room right there. Can't see it very well, can we? There you go. You can see that groove right in there. Okay, so it might be easier to do it that way. In fact, I'm going to try it that way and see if I can do it without screwing up. I've made my fair share of screw-ups in my life, carving on video or whatever, so it don't embarrass me. It just knows that I'm working on it, trying to do the best I can, and sometimes I'm not quite there. Bear with me. I'm going to do that all the way around on these edges of these covers. We've made that indentation. See what I mean? See how easy that is to break off? Now, I can push it back in there, grab a little dab of glue, and nobody will know but us. So hang on just a second. Let me... I don't want to lose that piece of wood, although I could fix my mistakes. Let's see if I can fix them this way. If I can get this glue out of there. All right, come on. This is a brand new bottle. My other one gave up on me, and I just got a brand new one. So where that spot was, right there, I'm gonna pull it out without breaking it off. Come on, work with me. Right there. There it is. I'm just gonna put a little dollop of glue in there. I don't need much. Push that in there. Hold that down a second or two, and we can work around it here. I don't like using glue a whole lot, mainly because it has a tendency, it smells, I hate that, but it has a tendency to make that piece of wood hard to carve. I'll leave that set over there because, again, I'm sure I'm about to make another mistake. Anyway, we'll move to another piece. And so this one, because the grain is going this way, I can carve this fairly easily. So I'm going to go in where I made the cut. I'm going to come over to it. And all I'm doing is indenting right now. I'm moving these pages of the book back behind the cover because they normally don't stick out much, if any at all. Come on there. So we're just going to trim that back in there. And in fact, when I go to the end pieces, I'll show you, I'll grab a different tool and I'll show you how using one tool or the other is a whole lot easier one way or the other. All right. Also know that right now we're embedding the leaves. We haven't done anything with the covers to put them behind the strap, so we still got that to work with. So we're not where we need to be yet. I'm just moving this out so that I can get behind it and make a decent looking cover. A little piece there, don't want to, there it is. I scared it, it came out. All right, since I got these out, now what I can do is, you can see this fishtail gouge is just about the width of my cut. So now I'm going to go and push those push those pages back behind the cover. Hope you can see that with my lighting. You can see that the cover and the pages, they tuck behind each other. Okay. do the same thing for that upper piece. I don't want to get them really deep, but I want to get them, give the illusion of them going up under that strap. So this thin, flexible fishtail gouge I got from Drake is, like I said earlier, is one of my older tools. And I really, really enjoy it because it does everything I ask it to do. And it doesn't need a whole lot of sharpening very often. It's on the line of those file Swiss Stubai tools that you don't have to sharpen very often. So the less time I have to take honing rather, better off I am. So I don't know about you, but I really prefer carving than honing knives. I can do it, and I'm pretty good at it, and I usually get most things that I need to sharpen honed back where it needs to go, but I still don't want to spend a lot of time doing it. God bless those knife makers who do. I don't. Okay. Maybe I can get the right angle and you can see where everything is tucked back in. Okay. We're going to do it across the top, although this one's going to be a little bit harder because we're going across grain. And I haven't honed my tools lately because they don't really need it, but it's a good idea to take a minute. I'm not going to piece that wood out. It's a good idea to take a piece, take a minute, and hone. So I'm going to give me a couple seconds. I want to put my leather. I just want to give this thing a few licks. It probably don't need it, but it ain't going to hurt it for me to do that. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm just using this homemade sharpener I got. It's got sandpaper of a very high grit, 800 or whatever, and then it's got a piece of this leather stuff, and it really works really well for just hand honing your stuff. All right, let's try this again. Nope, it's still going to be hard on me. It's all right. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. One of the things I like to do when I get to this point, this one's my smaller one, and I've got a little more control with that handle, and I'm not cutting off so much cross grain at any one time. So using a great big tool on these to cut across the grain is just really, really difficult. You got to have a lot of shoulder strength and arm strength. I had both of my shoulders sewn back together, tore the rotator cuff, and I suspect I got another tear on my right shoulder again because it's not feeling real good. But insurance won't pay for a surgery to sew it back together unless you've gone through an MRI, and I suffer from severe claustrophobia. I can usually make most of it work, but the last time I went, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. So one of my many foibles I have, I couldn't do an MRI. So we'll live with it. You know, it's worse. There are worse things that have happened to me and to you and others, and so we'll just we're gonna make it work. Okay, we're gonna do the bottom one a little bit more of this we got to do. But using a small fishtail gouge, gosh dang it, stay in place. It's kind of easier to use than a big one. Now, in reality, I didn't have to do this. I could have come in here and cut it with a V-tool all the way down and just made those pages look real. But what I wanted was that I wanted that drop down. I wanted it to be a little farther behind where the cover is, and I still got to trim the covers a little bit. I haven't gotten there yet, but whew, I need a drink. This is tiring me out. back against it because it's going to come out like that if I don't. Push the wood against more wood and it's a little bit stronger. If I'm carving it out here to the edge, there's no support out here, so it's probably going to break off a little bit. All right, I think I'm about done with this. I'll tidy it up and make it a lot prettier later. But we got the carved out here for the pages. That thing don't want to stay there. I might have to try it again. Hang on. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put some accelerator on it. This Zap-A-Gap stuff is really good for that. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of sealer, and that sets it up, and it should not, fingers crossed, and hope it won't break off again because I'm tired of fooling with it. Anyway, now what we're going to do is take that edge. We're going to do these edges all the way around. Just a small knife. I'm just going to round the edges because I'm making them look like the book is kind of worn and used and maybe a little tattered. But all I'm doing is taking these sharp edges off the tool, off the book. Okay. If you're like me, you'll lose track of your place, so I stick in one area till I'm done with that area, then I'll move on to the next area rather than go all the way around. I got that one side. See, I was going to skip this because I forgot. Okay. This side too. I'm going to trim this edge. This back side has got a lot of marks from the mill when they sawed it up. Okay, this is the side I've already cut in for the leaves, so I got to be real careful. I can't make it very deep because it'll be looking a little bit funky. We don't like funky. So all I'm doing right now is just going around to every edge of the book where the cover is and trim that up so that it looks a little bit rounded. It's had a little weather to it. It's been handled by a lot of folks. And then but these sides is the ones where I've already carved in the leaves, and so I can't really get too aggressive, and I can't really go back too far. So if I make this go back too far, it'll be the same level as this, and then I got to come back here and relieve that a little bit. So just one of the things you have to take into consideration when you're carving and you're carving in the round, you really, really, really have to pay attention to what one piece of carving does to another. So whatever I do to here, does that affect over here? Well, you bet your bippy it does. So you got to be careful with that and make sure that you plan for that. Otherwise, it's like I carve a lot of faces. And one of the things I run into with other people carving faces is that sometimes we don't pay attention to what one muscle does to another. So look in the mirror, take a moment to look in the mirror, scrunch one part of your face up. In other words, pull your cheek up on one side. See what that does to the nose. See what that does to the side of your face. One of those things we just got to be careful with. All right, I'm going to go back with my small V tool. There it is. And now I'm going to deepen these cuts where the leaves are. Where the pages are, sorry. All I'm doing is with a small gouge. I've got a couple smaller ones, but I think this will work. If I need to, I'll pull them out. All I'm doing is where the pages are, where the cover is, I'm moving in every spot I'm moving the pages behind the cover. So you got to be careful with this because you're on the edge and it's going to want to break off on you. And if you can see, we're still not deep enough to show the relief of these buckles and straps. So we're still not there. We're going to have to go back and cut some more. So we'll get to that a little bit at a time. There's nothing wrong with creeping up on it. We don't have to run to it. It ain't no marathon, or it's not a race, it's a marathon. So we're going to get there. I'm just cleaning up a little bit of these cuts that I made for the pages. And this is on the front of the book right here. We'll do the same thing up here on the top with the sides of it. See, that one's stretched out. It wants to go, but I'm not going to let it. I'll have to touch that with a little bit of glue. Come across the spine, make that indentation right there. Come across and come back here. Come on, go there. Thank you. And then go back down here at the bottom. Be careful because this is the part we just glued, so it made this wood really, really hard. And so if you do what you end up doing, put a little glue on there, and then if you have to carve over it, that will really booger up your knife in terms of leaving it some scratches. So you got to be real careful with that. I use glue real sparingly, and it doesn't matter what glue you're using. It's some kind of resin or sap or something like that, natural or man-made. It has a tendency to harden up. If you've ever tried to carve pine wood where it's sap, it got sap pits in it, or sugar pine or anything like that, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right. Now what I want to do is these hard edges around the cover, I want to take all of those off. So I'm just going to lay my knife sideways and just trim a real thin piece so it makes it look like it's got some divots, some round to it. This is a leather cover for a book that's been around for quite some time. So you got to give it some character. I don't know if you can see that yet, but you'll see it when we're done. So basically just going around and trimming those sharp edges so that it looks like an old book. And at this point, if a couple of them break off or have little pieces on them, that's kind of okay. It's again, look at the age of this doggone book. It's been around a while. But here I'm on the spine. I'm trimming down the spine so that it looks like it goes up under the strap, because it's gonna right here. It's gonna come out a little bit the way it comes out. It doesn't come out flat and real deep. So, all right, another edge to trim here. It's right there where I glued it. It wants to come out again. No. We got it. Right now, I'm just going around on the edges and trying to trim those down just a little bit. Here's one right here. I haven't done anything to it, so I'm going to bring the edge back to it, back to that strap. Go like I'm going to carve under the strap. So I'm going to take off that piece of wood there. And then I'm going to carve out to the outside. Be careful not to break that edge off. And then we gave it a little bit of softness because it is leather. It is a leather bound book. So here's a straight edge here. We haven't trimmed yet either. I'm going to come backwards instead of going forward. And here you've got a lot of saw marks right in here. You'll want to take those out sometime before you paint. But I wouldn't worry about so much of getting them all out right now. It's not a big deal, but it will be. Look at here. that piece wants to come out too. So we'll give it a little dab. Just a little right in there in the corner. And I'm going to leave it alone to set up and cure. I don't need a lot. It went all the way down in that groove, so a little bit. I know some people don't like glue, but if you're doing a lot of carving, there's going to be times when you need glue, and it's just the way it is. And so sometimes you can use a epoxy to mix or straight out of the bottle, whatever we've got. Okay. All right. I'm not sure what the time is. I'm trying to keep these fairly short, around 15-20 minutes, so that you're not watching a whole long out video for an hour. You can do a little bit and then come back to it. So we're going to clean up a little bit. I'm going to come back with a slightly larger gouge, and I'm going to go around every transition of the strap and the book. I want to make it cleaner and deeper. So that's going to allow me to come back next time and undercut the strap so that it looks like the leather goes under the strap. The leather part of the book, what I'm talking about. So I'm just cleaning as I go. And if it takes you 2 or 3 cuts, it's all right. The point is to get where you need to go, rather than worrying about everything. One of the things I always tell people, because there's people, they'll take a class or they'll do a carving that somebody else has done, and they'll say, well, mine doesn't look as good as yours. And you know what? It shouldn't. If we wanted to just be like everybody else, all we'd have was a bunch of clones. And I realize when you take an art class, the first thing they have you do is copy the old masters. So you're doing somebody else's painting just so you can learn. So next time you pick up a blank or a rough out from somebody or cut one out of somebody's carving, carve the first one like they do. Try to recreate what they do. Then the second time, try to recreate it because you want to do 2 or 3 of those to build that muscle memory. Second time you go around, try to do it even better. You should see a difference. And the third time you go around, make some changes. Do it your way. Don't do it anybody else's way. Do it your way. Make it your carving, not somebody else's. Because when you do, then you're going to realize how much you've progressed, and now you can take off and you can do a whole lot of things where you change stuff. I'm real bad. I don't know, I guess I'm not good enough, but I'm real bad about not recreating somebody else's carving. I'll take a carving and I'll make some changes to it. Here's an example. I picked up this rough out from Rich Weatherby up in Ellensburg, Washington, and it says Father Christmas. And I changed it because I got a different base, I got a different stick, I kind of got a different face. It's still Rich Weatherby's carving idea, and I've even got a different kind of robe down here underneath the cloak. But I made it my own. I just added my own little touches to it, because that's what fuels me, is not recreating anybody's stuff. I may take their idea, and they're okay with that. Most of them are. Most of them say, well, heck yeah, go ahead. I mean, if I as a carver create something and like this or anything else, and somebody wants to go carve on it, I am A-okay with that. I would think it an honor, and I would think it an honor if you did it my way. I'd think it a greater honor if you felt inspired to do it your way. Because that's what I want with carving classes. I want nothing more than to help carvers go forward and where they want to go. So whatever it takes to do that, let's get there. Excuse me while I pause for a sip. All right, we got every edge rounded, near as I can tell. Now, I might have missed one, but I don't see one. Yes, I did. All right, and the next thing we want to do is look at these straps. We're going to draw here a little bit because we want to figure out what we're going to do now, because we're not to details yet, but we're going to be there soon. If this is the front of my book, and this is where the leaves are, the pages are, And when you open this cover, what you don't want is a strap that buckles way back here. You want to buckle somewhere right up in here. So I'm going to put a buckle about right here, about right there. Whatever those buckles look like, that's where I'm going to put them. If I was to open it, this would be the short piece, and the strap would be attached back here, but it would be flopped over here. So this would be the edge of it, the front tab. And right in here is going to be the buckle itself. I know these are a little bit bigger. One's a little bit bigger than the other. That one was off a little bit. So again, these would have been handmade too. Just as this book was handmade, these would have been handmade. And so I've got a little, whatever this piece is called that goes through the belt loop. That's where I want to put that in there. And there's my buckle. Let me draw it on in marker so you can see it better. I'm not sure what's wrong with my lighting. Here's the edge of the buckle and the leftover of the belt. Inside of the buckle with the little piece that goes there and goes through the hole. So now that means the buckle's going to open up, the book's going to open up this way, and the buckle opens up that way. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'm going to do everything except the buckle on the strap. So here's the first thing we're going to do. Go around to every corner, take off these real hard corners. So these are sharp corners. So I just want to trim that off just a little bit. It doesn't matter what I take off and what I do. I'm just trying to make it to where the strap looks like it rounds around the book and doesn't come to a real sharp edge and then boom. I want to make sure it's rounding and looking like it's a piece of leather wrapped around a book. Trim that off because they weren't matching. Okay, do this one. Again, don't worry about perfection. We're gonna hide all of our imperfections behind a carving, behind a piece of something that we create. So we rounded all the corners, and we rounded all the edges. Now what we're going to come to, again, we're not going to carve anything from here to here. We're only going to carve the leather. I'm not a teacher that says you need to go buy this tool, because you can use a tool to do a lot of things. I'm going to use a great big tool on this one. You do not have to go out and buy that. Please don't say, oh, my instructor said I had to get this. What I want is a gouge that'll take up almost all this space. You see how little this one is in comparison? So I have a larger one that I don't use much, but it's very handy. See how that almost covers the whole thing? And so what I want to do, I'm going to give this some texture, some characteristic. I am just making it look like it's a piece of leather that's being stretched in ways that it gives it some kind of movement. You can't really see that very well. Come on, light. Get it up there, maybe get it close enough it'll see it. That's what I want to do to it, right there. Okay, I'm going to do that on the flat parts. I'm not going to do that on the edges over here on the spine, but just a couple of cuts, just to add some characteristics, some texture to it. Remember, this is a leather. This is a piece of leather. I'm doing it on the outside of the clasp, buckle, whatever word you want to use for it. And don't make them look like straight lines. Give them some jiggle. Make them look like they're doing their job, but Not going to worry about the edges, but we're worrying about the flat spots. In other words, these cuts that you're making on this leather strap should not look like they all go the same way, like it came off of the Prada production line on leather satchel or something. Okay. This allows me to also cut out these drawing lines that I left on it. Otherwise, I got to figure out a way to get them off of there. I'll show you how to do that. I do that in just about all my carvings, how I do that without sandpaper. All right. See how each of those, you can see a little bit when I get it in the shadow. That's what we want to look for. Now, go do that on the edges as well. Just give that one just a few. Don't need many on the edge because it should be, that's where it's going to be pulled taut. That's where it's going to be a little tighter than it would be out here on the flat edge. So just give it a little bit of texture, characteristic to it. We'll add some more a little bit later, but not necessarily right now. Okay. Again, this is the buckle part, the buckle area. So I'm going to make these a little less beat up, but a little more detailed than they already are. Again, try to be varied in all of your cuts. Your cuts should all have variations in them. Think of a leather satchel, a leather bag, or a saddle, and all the wrinkles they develop in them over time. This is going to do the same thing. Okay, starting to look like a book. We've got a front, spine, back. Oh, sorry, there's the front. We got a front, still have a spine, still have the pages in here, still have the pages in here. Okay, little detail. Let's detour a little bit. I'm going to take a small V-gouge, and I'm just going to go in here, and you know what? I'm going to grab a small one. I think a smaller one would be more impactful. And all I'm going to do is scratch pages across here. You want them fairly symmetrical in terms of running from left to right or right to left, but you don't need them all to match. These are old pieces, if you ever looked in some of the books in a museum, you see some of those really old books. And this is not working with the end grain because I haven't sharpened that tool in a while. So we'll go back to a slightly larger one. Anyway, if you ever looked in a library at books that they have open there, man, you see the edges. They got all kinds of crinkles and stuff on them. And usually what I do on these is I make these lines and I come back and I'll take a knife and I'll deepen some of them, add more texture and characteristic to it. As you can see that, get it in the shadow. See those lines coming out? And I'm just going to make a whole bunch of them down through here. And this is the end grain side. So what a pain in the behind it is to go across the end grain here. But it helps if you make your tools really sharp. I dropped my tools the other night and I was aggravated because I was headed out the door with them. And I didn't get a chance to re-hone them again. And so I haven't done it since then. I have to do that between this video and the next because arm will give out here sometime soon using hardwood, softwood, but hard at the cross grain, end grain. Can you see that? Okay. Now what I would do then is either come back with a really small V tool, and I just bought one the other day, a little file. It's that I don't know if you can see that well, but that's a V tool, and it is tiny. I'm gonna go in here and just make some deep cuts, just down in there, so that there's some divots and spaces in there that makes it look like all of these lines are not going the same way. I mean, they roughly are from here to there, but they're not all micro parallel. Is that even a word? But parallel at the microscopic level, the atomic level. We don't care about that, we care about this level. So again, just taking a few spots, making it really deep and looking different. I want these pages to show differences. I'm gonna put that there. Let me see if I can. Got too much light coming in. Let's see how that looks if I turn one down. There, that's a little. I'll fall over my table. It looks a little better, I think. Anyway, we made some smaller holes back in there, and it doesn't look like they're all the same now. We would do the same thing on the other side. I'm not going to waste time or waste your time showing you how to do that, but now you know how to do that, and you can do that other side. The one that runs up and down here, boy, this is so much easier because I can just make all kinds of cuts in here with the V tool, and it's not cross grain, it's going with the grain, and so it's so much easier. But the problem with it now is because I struggled so much over here, it looks old. These will look brand new if you don't take the time to give it that old world character to it. Okay, I think I'm going to call that video good for right now. If you want some homework, do your pages all the way around, front or front of the book, top and bottom, and then take every part of your carving and take care of the details. One of those details is right here on the edge of these straps. I want to take those marks that I drew in with, and I want to round them over a little bit, not completely rounded, but I want to take off whatever sharp edges it has. Do that for your whole carving. This is video number 2. We'll do video number 3 here in a little bit, and your homework is to do your pages and to do your edges. We'll come back and now we'll start to embed everything into the book because the book's carved. The pages we got to get in there. Now the rest of it is the straps, the buckles, and whatever you're going to put in here. So that'll give you some time to think about it. Like I said, I have some that I do like a D&D. I think this one I'm going to do a little bit of research and find a book of spells and see if I can find something that goes in there. But that's going to be a lot of detail that we're going to put in there. So we'll call this one good. We'll see you in the next video number 3, and maybe by number 4 we'll be done and painted with this thing, and you'll have a fantasy book done. That'll give me a chance to clean all this stuff up too as well. I'll talk to you in the next video.